Hello and welcome back to the Andy's Bet Club podcast, the podcast where we look at some of the biggest games in Europe and bring you a four-leg bet builder for those games alongside Andy's experts. This week's episode, we are back into Champions League action with Benfica taking on Real Madrid in the first leg of the knockout fixtures. I'm joined by two of Andy's experts. This week we have Marcus and Ramis. Fellas, how are you both? Thank you for joining us. Ramis, we'll come to you first, my man. The last episode was a winner, my first winner as well as host. 2 out of 7 so far. Were you happy with how the game panned out, Ramis?
Yeah, definitely. I actually messaged Robin straight after the game ended and was like, "Do we have a winner? Was that a winner? Are we sure there?" And we went a bit back and forth, but then eventually we got to it in the end and it settled. Yeah, so very happy with that. Also pretty happy because both the angles that me and Robin picked out in the episode, aside from the bet builder, he went for Somerville shot on target, I went Bowen to win 2 or more fouls. They both also came in, so there was pretty good value away from the bet builder as well. But I'm a pretty superstitious punter, and I'm also pretty superstitious when it comes to football in general. So I've had the same breakfast, and I'm hoping that will get us over the line again.
You're wearing a different top though. As always in these podcasts, you're just an absolute glory supporter. You go whichever team you think will win. Apparently you're a Chelsea fan, but I've seen more jerseys on you than classic football shirts. Marcus, how are you, mate? Focus back to the Champions League this week. Are you looking forward to the first leg of these knockout fixtures?
I can't wait, Jack. I must say I do despise the Champions League phase. The new format is not for me, to be honest. Probably a conversation for another podcast. But yeah, I'm just excited to see Jose Mourinho back, to be honest. He's 63, he's on the decline. I don't think we can be sure how many more glamour ties he's going to be involved in, definitely in European football. So yeah, I'm going to be focusing on that and making the most of it. I know we've got a bit of a resident Jose Mourinho expert, Ramis, alongside me today as well.
Yeah, he's box office, Jose Mourinho, wherever he goes. We saw what happened in the last minute of the same fixture last time around. Him running on the pitch, hugging, was it a ball boy or something like that? Just chaos, isn't he? As always, our experts work together to build our bet builder. But just before we go into our first leg, we've got something a little bit different this week. You guys watching and listening at home, do you think you know more than our experts? Do you scuffle in disgust when you hear Robin, Ramis, Marcus, etc. give us their selections? Well, we want to hear from you guys. We're looking for some guests to come onto the podcast and give us your expert analysis, your expert tips and expert advice. If you think you have what it takes, then send an email to podcast@andysbetclub.co.uk and tell us why you think you should join us on the podcast. Back to this bet builder though, and 2 gentlemen that I trust with my life. Ramis, we're going to come to you first, mate. What is the first selection for this bet builder?
So me and Marcus have picked out over 1.5 Real Madrid cards, and that's available at 1.5. Marcus alluded a little bit to my admiration for Jose Mourinho in the intro. And I actually think one of his best traits, Mourinho, is being able to frustrate the opposition. Everybody knows, he gets in people's heads in the press conferences beforehand. Going to his teams on the pitch, they'll line up in a 4-4-2 or something similar, especially being a first leg game, and look to frustrate the opposition. And I think this is the perfect opponent to get frustrated with that. Real Madrid, probably surprisingly, have actually picked up the second most cards in the Champions League this season. Only Villarreal and Copenhagen, both collecting 19 cards, have more. So Real Madrid, 18 cards across their 8 league phase games. Of those, 3 of their 4 away games saw them pick up 2 or more cards. The only away game that didn't was their 5-0 battering of Kairat, which wasn't really a competitive contest. Real Madrid were always going to seal roll them. So in my head, this is a team that are kind of hot-headed. Obviously, with the change of Xabi Alonso midway through the season, rumours of player power, rumours of players not quite being happy with where they're being played and stuff. I think it could all contribute to quite a high card count here. Obviously, these sides met just a few weeks ago, and that was a very chaotic and frenzied game. Real Madrid had 2 players sent off, and they also picked up 7 yellow cards in that game from 15 fouls. So definitely a combustible side.
You just mentioned there the last game was chaos, frantic, goals, cards, just a bit mental, but a classic Champions League tie. Do you think that this time round Real Madrid might be told to sort of not be as crazy. They've been told to make sure that they don't go diving into tackles.
I don't actually think Arbeloa has that power to rein in these Real Madrid players. If they didn't listen to Xavi Alonso, they're not going to listen to Arbeloa. And I think you could see that from the first few games he's kind of managed. If you look at the other knockout game that he's taken charge of, they exited the Copa del Rey to Albacete. It was a massive upset. So this Real Madrid side, I think there's a massive issue with player power. I don't think the players necessarily listen to all the instructions that they're given. And there's a few hotheads in there as well. Vinicius is always partial to Akarshu, and many got booked in this game a couple of weeks ago. He was also one that I think could be on the receiving end. So I think there's enough hot-headedness, there's enough combustibility in this Real Madrid side for them to pick up at least 2 yellow cards.
Okay, awesome. Marcus, over to you, mate. What is the second leg that we're going to go for?
So speaking of hotheads, I found one on the other side of this encounter. Ramis and I have looked at Nicolas Otamendi 1+ fouls committed at 1.22 to come in as the second pick of our bet builder. He's someone I miss watching in the Premier League, to be honest. He's such an unpredictable player, and now he's 38 years old, still plying his trade, still playing at the top level of European football, of course. And he's actually given away more fouls with age. He's missed time in challenges a little bit more as he edges towards retirement. I think this is quite a nice matchup to pick him up in, given the players that he could face in this encounter. Just to put a bit of data behind that, over the last 3 seasons of Champions League action, Otamendi's gone from fouling 0.67 times per 90 to 1 foul per 90 last season, and now he's at 1.38 fouls per 90 this term. So we can see that it is a change in his game, going up by about 0.3 fouls per 90 per year, and a trend that I can really see continuing. In the league phase, he made 11 fouls in 8 appearances. He made 3 fouls on one of those occasions and 4 on another. And as I mentioned, the players that he's going to be coming up against, Vinicius Junior, definitely someone who has sort of improved since Alvaro Arbeloa has come in, had a little bit more confidence in him. Mbappe coming out of the side for Vinicius to score a brace on Saturday night as well. He's a player that's drawn 1.57 fouls per 9 in the Champions League this season. I think Mbappe is going to come back into the team. He's at 1.3, and then you've got Arda Güler operating in and around that attacking midfield position at 1.78 as well. Plenty of opponents for Otamendi to foul there. Ramis mentioned as well that how Mourinho might try and sort of frustrate opponents and squeeze the game. I'm well behind that. Even though they won 4-2 in the last time these two sides met and sort of prioritised counter-attacking, they only had 33% possession, and it worked. So I can just see as almost a rinse and repeat.
The players that are looking to sort of unlock the doors, I believe, is what they say in the footballing world. The likes of Arda Güler that you alluded to there. You give a bit of heat to the old boys here, Marcus. So far. We've only just started the podcast. Mourinho's been in the firing line. Otamendi's been in the firing line. But yeah, no, I completely agree with you. As he's gotten older. Okay, Ramis, back to you, mate. What's the next selection?
Well, it links quite well with what Marcus was talking about. Otamendi to commit a foul. We've gone with Arda Güler to be fouled 1 or more times at 1.3. Obviously, one of those players that Marcus mentioned that could be hauled down by Otamendi, but I think in general here he's a good pick to kind of look at, to be hauled down by any of the Benfica players, really, particularly their midfield. So he's been fouled in each of his last 5 Champions League appearances. He's clearly a player that Arbeloa trusts. He started in all but one of his games so far, and even in that game he came on at half-time and got an assist, and he's been performing pretty well. I think there's a particular encouragement for Güler in this game because Jude Bellingham's injured. So Jude Bellingham is always normally the number 1 name in the team sheet in the midfield. I think Güler is really challenging for a starting place with him. We saw with Xavi Alonso. Xavi Alonso really liked Güler but couldn't get him in the side as much as he wanted to because of the presence of Bellingham. So it's a real opportunity for Güler, and I think he'll take that, as well as winning a foul in each of his last 5 Champions League starts. He's drawn 11 in total across his 7 starts, working out to 1.78 per 90, and he was also fouled once when these sides met a couple of weeks ago. Just on that as well, in those duels he contested a couple of weeks ago, Benfica played without Enzo Berenchea, who is set to come back into the midfield here. He's only committed 4 fouls in the Champions League this season, but his aggression levels, if you like, are far higher than that. He is a bit of a hothead as well. The pitch seems to be full of hotheads here today, but I think that's particularly good for our selection here. And as I did with the Bowen angle last week, I think I'd also look at 2 fouls, 1 for Gula here. He is very good at carrying the ball, and he's also a very creative player. If you were looking at goal contributions for certain players, I'd actually lean more to taking Gula for just an assist rather than a goal or an assist. He's had 4 assists in the Champions League this season, so I could see him being an influential player throughout, especially when it comes to winning fouls.
You touched a lot on Gula there, but if we actually look at Benfica, I think they're ranked in the bottom 10 sides for fouls committed during the league phase. Do you think that because it is the first leg, they might be a little bit more reserved?
I think the temperature will be turned down a little bit because of what was at stake in the final game of that league phase. I think it's naturally always going to be a pretty chaotic and frenzied affair. But that being said, even though Benfica don't commit loads of fouls, they are quite a passive side, as you mentioned. I think what Marcus was alluding to with Benfica being quite a tightly compact unit means that Gula's not going to have much space to operate in here. And he's very good in those tight spaces. So I could see him getting the ball in those little pockets and then up against Baranchea and Leandro Barrio, who between them commit about 2.63 fouls per 90. I think there's enough there to suggest that even though Benfica as a side aren't the most aggressive, that his particular part of the pitch will be one where there are plenty of foul exchanges.
I found out you could get 40-1 on Nicolas Otamendi to be sent off in this game. 40-1. It's clear that the kind of game that Ramis and I are hoping to see, and that price definitely raised my eyebrows.
Let's go to the final selection then. Straight back to you, Marcus. What are we going for?
So rounding off this bet builder is Real Madrid to win at 1.83. This is very much down to the price. Obviously, as we mentioned, Benfica won 4-2 in this exact matchup at the end of January. But I feel like the price that we're getting here, it definitely represents value. Real Madrid went off 1.73 at Benfica in the final match of the league phase. We're getting a little bit more juice on the price here. And Real have actually won their last 3 games since that defeat at Benfica. If you look at how Benfica have been getting on since that big win for them as well, it's a 0-0 draw at Tondela and a pair of 2-1 wins against Alverca and Santa Clara. I can't claim to be an expert in terms of those 3 clubs, but I don't think it sounds like the most convincing way to come in to face Real Madrid. The odds of 1.83 means, in terms of implied probability, that the bookies are saying there's a 54% chance that Real Madrid win this game. For me, it's far bigger than that. I'd be backing this bet down to 1.8, maybe even shorter. Some of the what might have been factored into the price even is the uncertainty around Kylian Mbappe and whether he'd be starting this game. For me, I feel that they've just been saving him for this game more than anything. He was an unused sub. When Real Madrid beat Real Sociedad 4-1 on Saturday night, when I think of Real Madrid, I think of the Champions League. I think this is their top priority. I think they're saving their best player for this match. I won't put anyone off backing Mbappe to score first at 3-1 while we're on him. Real also have experience of the punishment round, or what I've heard people refer to as the punishment round, which we're in right now. They didn't make the top 8 last year. They got a horrible draw against Manchester City, and they sorted themselves out, and they won 6-3 on aggregate. It was really straightforward. That was a much tougher assignment than this. I think Arbeloa can even sense the opportunity to almost get the tie done in the first leg, and then he'll have more of an opportunity to manage to manage the loads of players like Mbappe, who it seems like might be getting an injection on a knee injury or something like that to make sure he's raring to go come tomorrow night. 1.83, far too good of a price to refuse.
You mentioned earlier on, or it was you or Ramis said about player power at Real Madrid. If Arbeloa can get this done, as you just alluded to there in the first leg of this tie, then I'm sure he'll feel a bit more confident himself as well. Okay, fellas, so just to recap our 4-leg bet builder, this is what it looks like. First up, we've got over 1.5 Real Madrid cards at 1.5. We've got Otamendi to commit 1+ foul at 1.22. Arda Güler to be fouled 1+ times at 1.3, and Real Madrid to win 1.83. That's combined odds of 4.41. As always in this podcast, you guys can follow along by clicking the notes in the show description, or alternatively, you don't have to follow at all. You can make your own bet builder using Andy's Bet Club stats over on the website. There's loads of bet builder stats and tips for you to build your own bet builder on as well. This bet we are going to be backing with Sky Bet. Gamble responsibly, and please make sure you are over 18 to get involved. We are back on Friday, back to Premier League action with another episode looking at Newcastle versus Manchester City. So make sure you subscribe on all platforms so you don't miss out for that one. Thank you very much, Marcus. Thank you very much, Ramis, for joining me. Have a great week, everybody, and we will see you all very, very soon.